Hello. It worked. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry, I'm a little blinded here. Tuning in for this live stream premiere of Yarrow. Yeah, I'm super excited to share this with you. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm very nerve-sided, very nervous and excited. Is a little bit of a personal piece. But thank you for being here, especially supporting the 15 dancers who worked so hard to be in this piece. We just wanted a moment to be able to celebrate together all of our hard work. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. I would love to talk about the creative process, anything that any question that might pop into your mind about this project and how this came to be, especially what it was like filming outdoors, any of that stuff. And I see a couple of the dancers like Rose and Sarah are here. Hi, Nikki. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'll just kind of talk a little bit, and then if any questions pop up, you can let me know. But this was filmed last July here where I live in Montera. So I scouted a couple of different locations. Perfect, Pamela. I'm answering you right now. I live in this really beautiful place about 25 miles south of San Francisco. And yeah, I really wanted to film something outdoors. I've done Expansion, the performance intensive, as the finale of my show, Stardust Follies, for I think 6 years in a row. But after the pandemic, I'm not quite ready to produce a show. So I thought it would be really fun to do Expansion and do it outdoors. And I'm going to do it again this fall, again with Earth-Based Media. So yeah. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Leanne. Beautiful job, everyone. So how this worked was that I had my dancers receive videos in advance. I sent them clips of choreography that I could work on in advance, and they had to work on that and be prepared for our first day in the studio. And I'm a little ambitious and decided we could do all of this in 3 days. So we only had 3 days in the studio to clean up and stage the choreography, and also for me to finish it, because I can't really complete a 8-minute long piece without having the dancers in place. So all of the dancers worked really hard to bring this vision to life. I'm going to do it again with a few more days in the studio just to be a little nicer for the dancers who want to sign up for the next round. Hi, Lily. Yeah, Pamela, was 3 days in the studio and then 1 day filming. So we filmed on a Saturday, which was a mistake because usually where I live, it's a little foggy, a little chilly. And for some reason, it was the sunniest day of the year, the day that we filmed. So that meant there were people everywhere. The first location we shot was fine. It was pretty remote. The second location, I can actually kind of see it out my window right now. There were some people hiking by. That wasn't too big of a deal. But when we filmed on the beach, that was really difficult. So that was filmed at Montera Beach. It's a really big beach. There's lots of room. However, it was completely packed with people that day. And so we had to hike all the way down to the end of the beach. And Summit, our videographer, was very careful with his framing to not get the masses in the frame behind us. So even though it might appear that we're just alone on this beach, we're actually surrounded by people. And what was really funny is hiking to the spot, people were screaming, "Congratulations," because people thought we were bridesmaids in our gold dresses. So since it was one of the sunniest days of the year, unfortunately, a lot of us got sunburned. So apologies to my dancers for that, but it was a full day of filming, of hiking. It was a lot, but I'm super proud of what we put together. Hi, Teresa. Yes, I agree, Leanne. Leanne's one of the dancers in the piece and says it was such an intense process, but everyone really brought the energy. I agree. Nikki asked, other than deadlines, what challenges did you face? Challenges, kind of what I just talked about. And some other challenges are just what it's like to actually be on location filming. So for example, the last piece on the beach, it was really hard to dance on the beach. The sand here, I love it. It's really thick sand, but you sink into it. So although we had some great ronde-jambs and bigger turns and whatnot, we really had to sacrifice the footwork and just focus on what we were doing in the upper body and the arms. The other issue with the sun being fully out without any fog, I was really hoping for a foggy day because it looks really great on film. When you are dancing in full sun, it can be a little harsh, but also it was really hard to not scowl at the camera. I didn't do a good job. I personally think my eyes are really sensitive to the sun, and there's moments where I'm just scowling, but kudos to everyone in the piece because it was hard. I'm sort of asking everyone to relax their eyes and just try not to squint. Kat, I only see half of your message. I was wondering how you managed to something. Oh, here we go. Second part is how you managed to have no people on the shoot. Yeah, I really tried to find spots that are remote. So the very first location, I don't know that we came across anyone else. That was a pretty decent hike up a hill in El Granada, actually, which is close to where I live, but not in Montera. And then, yeah, people were just really graceful. Like in the second location, we had people hiking through and we just kind of asked, my husband was there, Jason, helping us out and asking, can you wait a minute? And people were happy to wait and watch. I mean, to see like 15, 16 dancers in gold dresses performing, people didn't really mind too much. Rose says, I forgot to put sunscreen on my part. I think you mean the part of your hair. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I'm super proud of Chloe too and everyone. Aw, thank you. It was a very emotional piece for me too. Chloe, yeah, explaining the sun scowling and sand to my friends. Rachel says we had our sultry eye method, like squint, but then raise your eyebrows so you look cool. Yeah, you all did a better job of that than I did. And I wasn't in the second piece, maybe you didn't notice, but I want to talk a little bit about filming for certain locations. So it's very different to choreograph something for the stage where you have perfectly nice flat floor and you know where your light's going to be and where the audience is, and filming on location and for video is very different. It restricts you in some ways, but also gives you a lot of freedom in some ways. So that second location where the dancers are in 2 rows, I'm not in that part. I choreographed that part specifically for that location. I was hiking around trying to find some locations that I thought were stunning. And yeah, I walk past that all the time on my hikes here in Montera. That's on Montera Mountain. And I just saw what it looked like, the valley beyond the little ridge and what the mountain looked like. And I really wanted to film something there. However, there's a steep incline and it's a narrow trail. So I choreographed that dance specifically for that location. If we were to go put that on stage, it wouldn't read the same. To have dancers in 2 rows, we also had the drone to consider. So I've never worked with the drone before. Actually, I guess I have in other things like with some videos with Beats Antique, but I haven't been the artistic director. But it gave us a lot of opportunity to show dancers from different points of view that you wouldn't get on stage. So even if a dancer was, say, in the back of the piece, it's not that they would never be seen. Everyone I feel like, was really visible throughout the whole piece. So yeah, it's a really fun challenge to choreograph for a specific spot. And there was something else I was going to say about that. Oh, the other really fun thing about editing and having multiple camera angles is, for example, in the last piece on the beach, there's a moment where we reach, and then we do a sharp turn and we land with our wrist overhead. And in the studio, it was fine to do that turn, but I knew that in the sand, it was going to be a mess. So I purposely choreographed it so that we just did a half turn. And once we flipped around, I just had the camera on the other side. So if that were on stage, all the dancers would be facing upstage and away from the audience, which obviously wouldn't work. But on film, I guess it's not really film anymore, but on video, yeah, there's just a lot more room to be creative and try different points of view that you can't get from a single shot or from a stage. How many takes did you do for each piece? It looked like you had several different angles in the drone footage as well. Yeah, Andrew, it depends. The first piece, we had probably 10 different takes. I'd say for each piece, it was like 8 to 10 takes. So that meant we were dancing for a long time. It also meant that we got to kind of warm up. If you've ever performed before or filmed before, you know that you kind of start to relax and really sink in and find your groove after a couple of takes. So it meant for us dancers, we were doing a lot of work the day of, but as the editor, I edited the film. It gave me so many options. So usually I edit videos for my show Stardust Follies, and I have 2 cameras, which is also great. I get to switch between 2 views. So maybe I think one part looks better from one point of view, or maybe someone messes up and I want to hide that mistake. But with some little bit of editing or switching cameras. In this instance, it gave me a lot of options, but I'm a Libra and I'm not good at making decisions. So it was a little overwhelming at times because there was so many just beautiful shots, so many beautiful moments. So I essentially went through and watched each video and just really highlighted and took notes of what parts I wanted to keep in the film, which parts I really felt were important to the storyline, and that made all of the dancers look their best. I really wanted to make sure each dancer had at least a couple of moments where they really looked great and shined and looked like they were in their element. Hi, Emily. How did you set up the sound for the songs to play outside? Oh, not a rookie question at all. Rose saved the day with this. I was just going to bring my little Bose speakers, but Rose was like, no, I have this big Bluetooth speaker thing. So we brought that to each location and kind of had to hide it. So, for example, in the last piece at the beach, that was the hardest one because the beach is loud. The waves are crashing, the waves were big. It was really loud. So for one, the dancers have to really know the music so that if it's quiet, we still know where we're at. But if you look at some of the drone shots from the beach location, you can see like some moss and some greenery kind of behind us, and that's the speaker being hidden. And we sort of did that at each location, just found a way to disguise it, camouflage it in the shot. Yay. Leanne says, I love the color contrast, the gold dresses and the landscape and the deep blue of the ocean. The second piece has wavy motions like the grasses, and the last one rolls like the ocean waves. Yeah. Some things are just accidental, I knew that gold was going to look really stunning because it was so green. We had so much rain last fall or winter that everything was so green here. And I just really love the look of metallic gold and green. And the costumes, because a lot of people have asked me just talking about this piece, but I just asked all the dancers to find a gold metallic dress that they liked. I had specific parameters, like no sequins. I didn't want one person to be like a disco ball. But we had a variety of tones and textures, and I really liked the way that it looked. In person, it sort of maybe looked a little bit odd, but it's kind of like if you've ever gone through that and then put a piece on stage and with lighting, it kind of brings everything together. And I felt that's what happened once we were dancing and we were moving. We're not just standing still. The other thing that added to that is the color grading that Jade did. So I edited the video. I was really specific about that. I have a hard time allowing other people to edit work for me. And Jade, by the way, Jade iMoon, she's an amazing director. You should check out her videos on Earth-Based Media as well. She has a very amazing eye. And I could have allowed her to edit the piece, but I just was really specific on, I knew that I was going to be a pain. More than anything, I think I was trying to save Jade the trouble of me wanting to change a lot of things. However, she did the color grading, so I'm still learning about editing as I go. I don't know anything about color grading. I didn't even know what that was. And when we were filming here, Summit and Jade were like, "Do you know how to color grade?" It's like, "Nope." So I think the color grading that Jade did gave a little tonal effect to the entire video. And I think that's what at the end like really brought the dresses together, really made us look cohesive. Hi, Janice. It was such a great group. Yeah. Thank you, Relativity Belly Dance. What was the story behind Yarrow? How did you choose the name or what inspired it? So as you probably saw at the beginning, it says for dad. I feel like the piece, it's not all about my dad, but I lost my father last year, and I'm trying not to cry and talk about this. But the first piece is really about him and figuring out my life moving forward without him. And the storyline of the three pieces is not just about losing my dad. It's sorry, I'm getting very personal here, but you asked. But it's also just about the last couple of years and what I've been through. And I think a lot of people have gone through after the pandemic. A lot of us have had career changes or just our like intentions or our what we want out of our lives. Things have just, we've had more clarity and challenges as well. And that's what the piece is really about. So the first part is about losing my dad. And the flowers that we're all holding, they're Yarrow. So I also study herbalism. Yarrow is just really synonymous with healing. And when I was trying to find a name for the piece, I wanted just something simple and direct and maybe a little inquisitive, like what, you might be like, wait, what does that mean? So that's why I chose Yarrow. The second piece, I feel like, is when you're just in that transition period, like kind of in the doldrums, when you're trying to figure out, where am I going from here? I've had this experience. So I had a big change in my personal life or my career or, going through loss. And then how am I pushing through? How am I getting to that next place where I'm figuring out what my path is? And really that's what the second piece is about too. I feel like the second part is that kind of gritty part that no one really wants to go through, but in the end you end up stronger and you end up learning a lot of lessons. And then the last piece is just sort of the resolve, kind of sinking into change, sinking into who we are, or because I feel, again, a lot of us have changed. We're not the same people we were before 2020. I think I can say for the most part for most of us. So yeah, the last part is meant to be very happy and upbeat. Again, I think some of us were having a really hard time facing the sun, giving that feeling, but it's meant to be more uplifting and looking forward to what the future is going to bring. Lily asks, how did you decide what order to put the three dance pieces songs on? I don't know, Lily. I always have a different approach when I make choreography. So sometimes I have a really clear vision. I know exactly what I want to do. And sometimes I just kind of follow my instincts and just, yeah, I don't know how to quite explain it, but I've created choreographies before where I didn't even know what the meaning was or what it was about until I was on stage performing it. So I try to put a lot of trust into the process and in my intuition, and just, I've done this for a long time, so I feel fairly comfortable doing that. And in that process, I feel like sort of answers come to me. So again, I kind of had an idea of the storyline. I didn't know exactly how it was going to end up, but I just felt those three pieces complemented each other. I thought they had a nice flow. I didn't want anything that, just feels flat and feels the same the entire time. I wanted a little bit of contrast and dynamics between the songs. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for all these questions. Thank you. I love talking about this stuff. Rachel asks, how did you decide how many people you wanted to be in part of the project? Was it difficult to do so much choreography before you had the group to work and stage with? I usually cap expansion at 15 because that's already a lot of people. I would love to do one someday with like 50 dancers. But realistically, I feel like 15 is a more doable amount of dancers where I can really give individual feedback and make sure everyone is supported along the journey in this process. I've done it before with less. I think I've done expansion once with 20 dancers, but yeah, I feel like 15, I don't know, that's just kind of become my good number for working with groups. Let's see. Thank you, Elodie. I'm so happy you like the way that the post-production and editing looks. Hi, TJ. Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much. Sarah asked, with all your experience, how long did it take to write this choreography? It's hard to say because I started thinking about the locations and the music and the costumes months in advance. And then the actual like making of the choreography, I probably started later than I should have. I just had a lot to tend to last year. So I'd say like a month before we first got together is when I really started choreographing. And I think dancers only got videos maybe 2 weeks in advance. And then I made a lot on the spot. I actually, now that I think about it, I think the second piece, I'm sure one of the dancers here can remember. I think I choreographed the entire second piece in person with everyone. I had like ideas and sketches, but I needed to have the bodies to see what all the shapes would look like. So yeah, it really depends. Sometimes I can pump out a piece of choreography in like 1 hour. And sometimes it's like pulling teeth and it takes me weeks and months and takes me a really long time. It's just never consistent, unfortunately. Nikki asks, can I ask a techie question in regards to editing? What software do you find the best to use, as the video is very beautifully edited, open to sharing your secret? And how long did the editing process take? So I used Final Cut Pro, which is a Mac program. I used to use iMovie, but I knew that the footage that I was going to get is so large that I needed to use a more powerful program, and that a program that could do more. I don't know that it's the best one. I just taught myself on iMovie, and I felt like transitioning to using Final Cut Pro would just be the easiest way to do it. So I'm very self-taught. I'm sure I could use some classes and have someone sit down and show me how to do things. So I can't say that it's the best one. I also, depends on what you're doing. Like this is a big project. I had 30 different video files that were part of this video. If you're doing something more simple, iMovie works great. I also use on my phone sometimes Splice. It's an app. It's really great if you want to make like little reels or what have you for social media, and just something that you can do quickly on your phone. But I'd say whatever the best is the one that you can use and that you have access to. I think there's just like the advancements in technology these days. I don't think there's any programs that are terrible. Elodie asks, what were your biggest learnings from doing a film production versus a live production? Well, I don't know. Maybe you all need to give me feedback on things that I need to change. My biggest lessons are, in the future and for the next project this fall, I want to watch more videos. I was doing that already, but more dance videos where things are shot on location and just seeing the possibility of what you can do with certain shots. Because once I realized, Summit did an amazing job. The videographer, I have no complaints at all, did exactly what I asked him to do. And this is where, if you're a choreographer or a director, you have to really know what you want so that you can communicate that with other people. If you don't know what you want, people aren't going to be able to make you happy. So although Summit did exactly what I had asked and requested and like went above and beyond what I had expected, I realized there were certain shots, certain views that I would have really loved to have. So I think in the future, I will do a little bit more storyboarding but that requires being organized. And I'm not the best at organization, but really laying out like, I want this shot from this point of view at this moment. I think that's one of my biggest lessons. And then, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Pamela asks a techie music question. What speaker do you like to use for outside use? I've done some outside dance here and there and have challenges hearing. I don't know if Rose is still here, but maybe she can tell us what speaker we used, because I usually just bring my phone, or I bring my little, I have just like a little Bose Bluetooth speaker, but that's just for myself. And this is the first time I've filmed with the group outside. So again, Rose saved the day, but I don't know which one she had. She's looking it up. Thanks, Rose. Michelle asks, how did you find your amazing dancers? So this is a performance intensive, and I take applications usually like 6 months or so in advance for dancers who want to work with me and be in the piece. And then I go through those applications. I usually ask, what your experience is with choreography, with dancing with other people, with taking direction, because I'll tell you something, although of course I want to have the best and most amazing talented dancers, but I also want to work with people who are professional, who know how to take feedback, who know how to work with a group, because I really believe in working in a group and supporting each other, because if we all work together, everyone's going to feel comfortable and supported, and then we're just going to get our best work. So there's a couple of criteria that I ask about. And then, yeah, if you're accepted, I send you, an email letting you know. Sometimes I don't accept people, and that can be really hard to do, but it really comes from a place of love, because I don't want to throw anyone into the situation who I think is not ready for it. It is something that dancers pay to do. So for one, I don't want anyone to travel to San Francisco and work and then feel like they spent this money and time and energy off, traveling and what have you, and then feeling like they are not ready for the experience. So it is something that you have to apply for. But yeah, and I always encourage dancers, if you are interested in doing this project, take some classes from me, because for one, I want to know that you really like working with me and you like my style and you like my movement. And the more you're familiar with my type of movement, the easier it's going to be to do this project. And I've been talking with Jade and Summit about doing this again, and it probably won't be until this fall, probably October or November. We're still working out the date, and I'm working on perhaps doing an indoor and outdoor shooting situation. So maybe saving everyone from some sunburns, but I got to do location shooting, location scouting, and all of that. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so I'm glad my voice hasn't gone out yet. Diane, thank you. Yes, kudos to Teresa. Teresa's amazing. Rose says it's a JBL. You can also daisy chain multiples together. Yeah, so you can use multiple Bluetooth speakers and hook them all up. Yes, Teresa, come join us again. We miss you in San Francisco. Hi, Jared. Thank you. Oh, awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed the beach shots. That really turned out different than I had in my mind, because the sun was not quite setting, but the sun was a little lower in the sky and just directly in our faces. And so it was very contrasty. And in my mind, I was thinking it was going to be kind of foggy and misty and softer, when in fact, it ended up being a little harsher and a little more contrasty. But in the end, I actually like it. And I like that shift that happened. It really creates a mood change that, out of my hands. That was up to Mother Nature. Thank you, everyone. Any other questions? I feel like I've been talking, oh my gosh, for 30 minutes. But I'm so glad to chat and that you're all excited about the piece. Again, huge hats off to all of the dancers who made this happen. Again, I ask a lot of the dancers that I work with, and they worked really hard to bring this vision together. So I'm very grateful for that. All right. Well, then, if there's no other questions, I'll wrap it up. Thank you again for being here. It's really exciting to just talk about this piece and share with all of you. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Pamela. It was such a great experience working with you too, Sarah. So great to have you here. Sorry, two Sarahs back to back. Thank you, Leanne. So the video, now that it's premiered, it's up. It's still available to watch anytime. So if you enjoyed it, please feel free to share it with people or with your community. And yeah, if you're interested in possibly doing the next expansion project, the best thing to do is to get on my mailing list. You can either, check in with social media, but sometimes it's hard to see posts about what's coming up. So I send out regular email blasts, not too often, but I let people know when things are coming up, and that's kind of the best way to find out. Or you can go to chrysalisdance.com. Thank you so much, Ema. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, but I appreciate your comment. Thank you, Leanne. Thanks, Brenna. I'm glad you felt it was healing to watch. It was healing for me to create and healing for me to also watch it with all of you. I was shaking in my boots. Thanks, Rachel. Thank you, Elodia. I am proud of all of this too. We should be proud of ourselves. Thank you, Lily. You did amazing. Thanks, Chris. All right, I'm going to end the stream, but I hope you all have a beautiful weekend, and I hope to connect again soon. Bye.